So I spend a bit of time in 3 areas in my life. Number 1, as a stockbroker. So we talk about buying and selling of what we call shares on stock exchanges. These are things I'm not even supposed to be saying, because I'm first of all supposed to do 1, 2, 3, then we say this is what I'm talking about. But I will just assume certain things may be palatable, but bear with me, I'm not assuming anything. I'm not allowed to assume anything. So when I start, sometimes when I look like I'm addressing you from a very fundamental perspective, it's not because I'm belittling what you know, but I think it's only fair for everyone to start somewhere. So it's courtesy rather than denigrating, if you would look at it that way. So in my other life, I'm an investments manager, so I'm an asset manager by training. And in my other life, I'm also a transactions advisor. So there are a few things that I do in different places. Just to get your guys' nerves settled, so that when I talk to you, you won't say there was this guy who's an elder at church who spoke to us about investing. So yes, I could be an elder at church, but in this context, I think we are trying to marry the two. First and foremost, you are a Christian before you have any title. Okay? So when we meet here, we meet as Christians. Just word of advice, don't carry your titles when you go places. They only matter in certain contexts. They don't matter everywhere. Yeah, so even after I said what I said, some of you don't even care because it doesn't affect you. You see the problem with that? Yeah, so titles really are not, they don't define people. What defines people is their faith. So what's bringing us here is the fact that we are Seventh-day Adventist Christians. You are with me? So the fact that you are a Seventh-day Adventist Christian is the reason why I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to you because you know something about what I will talk about. The reason why you are here and we are learning about it is because you want to get information on those things. So after this, you will know something. But what's qualifying you to be here in this auditorium, in this room, is the fact that you are a Christian. So we start there. And because we are Christians, we always get our marching orders from the Word of God. So we will start there in a very interesting chapter for me, Luke chapter 14. Luke chapter 14. Let's go to the book of Luke. One of the things you always discover when you read the Gospels, they have context. Okay? So Matthew has this Jewish perspective to things. He wants to convince people that Jesus is that Messiah that we were waiting for. You see what's happening? Because the Jew is still waiting for the Messiah. So as Matthew is writing, he has to convince Jews that that Messiah we were waiting for has come. And that Messiah is Jesus. And when you meet the book of Matthew, Jesus is always referred to as the Son of God. Most of the times. So he needs to prove that the Son of God has come. And then when you go to the book of Mark, Mark has an argument. He is trying to prove beyond reasonable doubt that besides the fact that Jesus was God, he was also man. So you always see this phrase, Son of Man, when you read the book of Mark. And his emphasis there is also a son of man who acts when you need him. So most of the things you see in the book of Mark is the use of the word immediately. So it's like Jesus is coming from the temple. They say immediately they entered into Peter's house and Peter's mother was sick. It's like as if he's stepping out of the temple and into Peter's what? House. So we have a Jesus who is immediate, very present. When you need him, he arrives in the book of Mark. When you go to the book of Luke, the perspective changes. There is a Gentile who has not known about Jesus who needs to be introduced to Jesus. And the beginning of the book is Luke writing to Theophilus, who needs to understand about Jesus. He has heard about things happening in Jerusalem, but no one has informed him in detail. So Luke, being the doctor, the physician, he takes time to surgically discuss the issue of Christ in a very detailed manner. So when you meet Luke, he has to talk about many things. But one of the things I like the most about this man is he talks a lot about money. The Jesus of Luke wants to be involved in your money. I don't know if you are following. The Jesus that Luke talks about is a Jesus who wants to talk to you about financial issues. Why money? Why money? You know, Christianity has been sacrificed on the altar of money by many young people. Morals have been compromised, families broken, relationships in tatters, schools and education put aside. You know, when burning became a sensation in our time, there are people who actually left university and became money changers. I'm not denigrating the profession. I'm simply saying money sometimes can get you places. So Luke has this idea of talking to us about money. So he wants to know about your money. So the Jesus you meet in Luke is interested in what? In your money. And most of the times when you see Jesus talking about things in the book of Luke, it's about money. And when you talk about money, it's not unchristian. You see the problem? We have been so trained in the art of suffering that we think that it's holy to be someone who does not have resources. There is no holiness in poverty. All right. So Abraham was so rich that the servants that he employed in his house, at one point in time when Lot was taken away, he just said to them, boys, gather together. And they became an army that defeated armies belonging to 5 kings. It's money. When you have it, you can do things. If you read the book of Job, Job chapter 29, they actually said there was a problem in the house of Job because when they were looking for cobra, if you would walk into his house looking for cobra to polish the floors, you would not find cobra in Job's house. You would find buckets of butter. So when you get to Job's house, you would find his daughter with a mop, dipping it into a bucket of butter and mopping the floors. It's money. God has always had people with resources. So a poor God is not my God. I'm not sure if he is yours, but my God is not a poor God. Are we together? Yeah, so when you grow up to some stage, some of you are still just getting into youth, some of you are still in high school. As you are growing up, refuse to be educated in this school of poverty, where they say it's Christian to be poor. It's not. There is no such thing. Even in the Bible, they don't have poor Christians in the Bible. They just have circumstances, but they have resources. Okay? All right. I'm not saying people are not going to lack resources. Jesus actually says the poor will always be with us. But God provides resources when they are needed. So let's talk about this subject in that context. I just needed to give you this background so that some of you don't become uncomfortable when we talk about money and think you are not at church. Actually, when you come to church, the gospel needs a lot of money. It is cheap. The gospel is cheap. Okay? But it is expensive to finance. To preach the gospel is expensive. Remember, all those pastors, when you see them driving cars, where is the money coming from? You and me. So, those monies that pastors use, they come from us. You need money for the gospel to go. The devil finances falsehoods. Just context. Let me give you context. So Jesus is resurrected. Actually, Jesus has been crucified, and Joseph of Arimathea approaches Pilate. He says, "Can we take him down?" Him and Nicodemus, tradition says they came together, approached because of their stature. They were given the body of Jesus, so they took it to the grave. So when they took the body to the grave, those that were afraid of what he had said and knew the truth went to Pilate and said, you have allowed them to take the body, but we also have a favor to ask of you. And he says, what do you want? He says, we want you to put a centurion. So a centurion means 100, isn't it? Century. So they took 100 soldiers. The very best centurion in Jerusalem round about that time was taken and then used to guard the rock that was put on the grave of Jesus. And when it was Sunday morning, a problem arose because Gabriel came down, and when he got there, just his appearance caused these people to lie down as if they were dead, and by his finger he rolled away the stone. And he stood by the open grave and he says to Jesus, your father calleth thee, and he says, I am the resurrection and the life, and he came out of the grave. And after Jesus was long gone, these people woke up, the centurion, and they realized, no, something unusual has taken place. So they went to the priests and said, what we saw, he sent someone for Jesus. So they said, if you go and tell people that God has sent someone for Jesus, there will be a problem. You are going to keep quiet. We'll give you all that you want. So they were given money. It says, go around and say his disciples have stolen him. Money. So the devil uses finances falsehoods. Why should God not finance the gospel? When it comes to church things, we all want them to be cheap, free, subsidized. You know the way we look at church. Yeah, it's always good to talk to young people because they are very open-minded. And I know you guys, when you are going to respond to me, you will tell me the things that don't work that I have said, which is very fair. I'm used to it. It happens to me every day. You tell people, let's do it this way, and they tell you you don't even know what you are doing. I don't know why I'm paying you. And sometimes, like after some time, they'll come back, I realize what you were talking about. But it's normal. All right. So the book of Luke chapter 14, verse 28 and verse 29. Context. Jesus here is talking about becoming a Christian, a disciple for Christ. So he says there is a cost to discipleship. All right? There is a cost to what? To discipleship. Sometimes to become a Christian, you need to, the practices might leave you with relationships that are not in good order, sometimes even with family. So verse 26 talks to that effect. And says sometimes you are even going to sacrifice a lot of things. But verse 28, he says, for which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it, lest he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, or who see it begin to mock him. So Jesus here is saying, when you want to do things, be very careful that you have got the resources that are required for you to finish the things that you are starting, isn't it? Because you realize, and this is very common amongst us as young people, if you start something and you don't finish it, and when you meet people, you want to avoid them. You don't want that conversation to take place. Because it makes you ashamed that you tried something and it didn't work out, isn't it? So Jesus is saying, be careful when you are dealing with these things, especially if you decide to start something. So here I'm going to put the house subject, I'm going to replace it with things that we can do to generate income. So Jesus is saying, if you want to start something that generates an income, make sure that before you start that thing, you count the cost. So one of the biggest challenges of our time is this idea of the microwave generation, where we want things to happen now and now. See what's happening? The reason why, some of us, when we are faced with the need to start something that will grow in the future and become successful, we cannot sit through that because it's not immediate. I'm more worried about what someone sitting next to me is doing more than what I can do to get to where they are. I want to arrive before I have started the journey. You see what's happening? So Jesus is saying there is a need for you to actually plan. So one of the principles of becoming financially independent or for self-sufficiency is the ability to plan. I don't know how I can put this across, but one of the biggest challenges of our generation is people who do not know how to plan for things. Just ask a question. Before we came for camp, there are things that you do. What did you put together to ensure that in your absence, when you come back, those things will still be there? Or you are living in the moment. Now it's camp. When I go back, I started. Have you ever been this kind of person who is always asking for things from your parents? It's not wrong when the time is not yet. But there are things that you can do that can actually stop you from, because if you don't win yourself off from your parents as you are growing up, chances are you will always be dependent on them even when you have your own responsibilities. So learning to win yourself off from your parents needs to start now. When airtime costs you $1, you cannot be given $1 every day. For starters, there are things that you can do on your own or through your parents that teach you the ability to master how to start running things and your affairs independently. Just ask the question. Have you ever had a scenario where one day you just wake up and you negotiate a deal with your parents that I am going to do 1, 2, 3 things, and after I'm done, this is my fee for what I have done? I hear where you are coming from. You think your parents don't want. It's because you have never tried it. Because when parents, wait, give me a moment. I know where you are coming from. Because these are the things that start the conversation. I know. Let's start there. The reason why sometimes, what I learned, when I was still living with my parents is, what they are waiting for is for me to show that I am willing to use my hands and do something. Most of the times, what this generation has fallen into is this idea of thinking that it's only when you have gone to school where you are able to fend for yourself and look after yourself. It's true that you need education. But what is the Adventist philosophy of education? You see where we're coming from? The hand, the head, and the heart. Okay? So when you look at these things, if you put them together, every Jewish child had a skill that they were supposed to possess with their hands. Okay? To be someone who can do manual labor with your hands before you could become anything else. So remember Paul, when he could no longer be a Pharisee, and now he had become a disciple and he was working. How did he finance the gospel? He was a tent maker. And how educated was Paul, in your view? He actually sat at the feet of Gamaliel. Yeah, in our generation, we would say this man had a doctorate. Actually, he was so educated that at some point in time when he was amongst the Greeks, he went to this hill that was called Mars Hill, and there was a place called Areopagus. At Areopagus, this is where the educated people, those with PhDs, would. So what they would say is, they stage like this one, okay, in a room, and they would say, before you get in, lights out, so that people don't see you. So lights would go out, you would get onto the stage, and then you would present your understanding of issues. And people had to be convinced whether you know or you don't know before they have seen you. So this is where the who is who of Greek philosophy were found. The Greeks were known for education. So Paul, at one point in time, he goes to the Areopagus, and lights are switched off, and he sits on the stage, and he begins to deliberate until they were convinced that this man is educated. So it's not about your books. But Paul, in his time, could sit down, make tents, sell tents, support the gospel. Adventists are too smart. I have very few friends in this area. I'm used to it. But we are too smart. We can't get dirty. So, those who know me, they think I'm a very strict father. So at my house, so my son is now in Form 1. So we had a very difficult conversation, and I said to him, "You're now going to school. When you're at school, there are some things that you need there. I know you have friends, sometimes you want to buy things and whatever, but I can't just be giving you money. Let's agree, what will you do to deserve money when you are going to school?" Form 1. Because we need to have this conversation. If I don't do that, he will be the one who bothers me even when he has a family. So we need to have the conversation. So he says, me, I like this. I said, no. Things you can do with your hands. So he wasn't sure. So what I did is I spoke to the mother, and we agreed to build a greenhouse. So we built a 240 square meter greenhouse. Yeah, it was going to be too big. So there's a greenhouse. So we agreed that we would get all the inputs there. So there's someone who works in the greenhouse, not a problem. But if he needs extra money, he needs to join this guy who is in the greenhouse. Okay, so he spends his time, for a fee. He should charge his fee. I don't care whether the fee makes sense or doesn't make sense. That's not the idea. The idea is what? He's working. All right, so I'll start there because if we don't start there, you realize that the other thing that has messed us up as young people is we were not given the opportunity to use our hands. Most of us here think that it is the maid's duty to do work at home. I'm not talking about girls. When I say maids, those are the helpers we have at home, but maids help both boys and girls. So in my house, my youngest daughter is 4 months old. The one before is 7 years. Okay? So as things stand, no one clears the tables in our house except those two girls. One is 10, the other is 7. I don't care how many people are at our house and how many plates are there. That's their duty. Okay? When the brother is away. When the brother comes, they have an extra pair of hands. So after his greenhouse, the maid finishes work after they come back from school. And so the maid cooks. Beyond that, they do the dishes, and we have to agree. So my daughters would come and say, "Daddy, we are doing the dishes today," and we agree the charge. So they charge me for that. No questions asked. Yeah, I'm just giving you information. So at the end of a term, they choose what they want me to buy because they were doing work. Okay? Why am I telling you all these funny stories? The idea is to try and get you to see that training your hands for work is part of your Christian duty. Not just you. As a Christian, you should be able to work. You see where I'm coming from? And you realize one of the biggest challenges of our generation is men and women who can't do anything for themselves. By the time you have your own house, you will be so incapacitated that you can't even run your own house. Do you know that's the challenge we have in our time? Like me, if you see me here, when my wife is away, I actually bath the baby, do diapers, cook the food, do whatever. There's nothing special about being a man if you cannot. Because remember, if you are a man, wait for me. If you are guys, I still need friends, so wait. So if you are a man, one thing you need to realize is if you have a family, the family belongs to you as a man. Your wife is helping you. So if you see me changing diapers, it doesn't make me less of a man. I'm helping who? The child is. So I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to do. But I have someone to help me. You see now? Right. I just wanted to get your attention. Now let me deal with the issue. Let me deal with the issue. Don't worry. Don't worry, gentlemen. Let's deal with these issues so that we finish them. So, the other challenge that we have also seen is, so I just want you to realize the idea of using your hands as Christians. So, I've seen this a lot. A young lady has a flat tire. Systems out. Now I don't have friends. Now I don't have friends. So why? So message to young people says, young people, especially ladies, should be taught to do the other manual work that you find around the house. Changing bulbs.
I wanted to ask the issue of the tires and everything, right? I once had an accident, right? Not my fault. I had to make sure. I'm a very good driver. I was just standing there waiting to cross, and then she came from behind, right? Not my fault. I did everything on my own. And then the people, I later told them that I had an accident. And then people said, we missed a chance, so you see that we are men enough. So it's not that we cannot do it, but we are giving the men a chance.
I'm not sure if this is the lesson that we are having, but let me stop here. I'm not sure you can concur, this is not the lesson we are having. This one is a test lesson. All right, let me leave it there. All right. Okay, so let's go back to this idea of self-sufficiency. So self-sufficiency, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, God is creating man. He says, let's make man in our own image. Okay? So God creates man. Did you know that God is the original proprietor? God is the one who can start anything. So when we were created in God's image, we were given the ability to start things. You are with me? All right. So, because we have this ability inherent and inbuilt in us, it is God's desire that we be people who start things. And did you know that it's very difficult for you to keep the Sabbath if you are an employee? Sabbath keeping as an employee is not a very easy thing to do. So, I am not saying all of you are going to run businesses and employ people. Some of us will be employed. But I want you to get the gist of it. So God is bringing the children of Israel from Egypt, and he takes them to Canaan. And before they start anything, God gives each and every one of the families resources to be able to look after themselves. So everyone gets land. This is an agrarian economy, isn't it? They were agro-based, so they did agriculture. So God gives everyone land and says, farm the land, isn't it? So God never asks you to do things where he has not given you the resources to do the things that he wants you to do. So if God is saying to you, I want you to be able to possess resources to finance the gospel and look after yourself and your family, he is not asking of things that he has not given you. That's not how God works. Before God says, give me, he gives you. You see how God works? So within each and every one of us, there is a talent that God has given us. And the biggest challenge of our generation is trying to be someone else when God has given you the ability to be you. You see what's happening? And you realize that in our generation, most of us, we have killed the creativity that God has put in us. We are copycats of the highest order. I always speak about this in the context of women who sell tomatoes. or men who sell tomatoes. So if you sell tomatoes here and you have a very big market, your market style is successful, what's likely to happen next week? Someone will set up another one. And the two of you are still okay. Demand and supply is still okay. It's allowing you to sell to people around you. What happens next week? And before you know it, everyone in that area is doing tomatoes. So I'll give you economics 101. What happens in economics? There is something called demand and supply. So the price of something goes up depending on its availability. If it's less available, it's more expensive. So as you crowd one place, what are you doing? You are increasing the supply of that good or a service. Then what happens is, because there is too much of it, the prices or the money you get for offering that service, they come down. And before you know it, all of you are not making money. And this is how people actually fail to start things. They copy others. You see what's happening? But that's not how God created you. If God wanted all of us to do tomatoes, He would not have wasted the time that He wasted creating us. For the record, Biology 101 says, when your parents come together to try and bring you into the world, okay? Your mother produces maybe 2 or 3 eggs, but the father has about 500 million of them in his system. You get what I'm trying to say? And the probability of you being born is 1 out of every 500 million or something. I don't know, Doc, you need to correct me there. So, you just being here is a miracle. There is no you anywhere else. It's just you. You are very unique. And you realize that that uniqueness is what God is looking for. If there is Dr. Ticharewa here, God is not looking for another Dr. Ticharewa. He's looking for someone else, Dr. Machamire. This Dr. Ticharewa does not have the same skill set with this Dr. Machamire. Did you know? Just here. This one looks at your teeth. This one is trying to do other things, but I know MBCHB at the moment. You see what's happening? They are already different. This man and what this lady here, what they do, they are very different. And you realize this is why God has made it that way. Why has God done it that way? Because there are things that the world needs that only you can produce and no one else. So I'll tell you the things that are usually challenging the world at our time. Most people don't want to start things out of fear of starting things. And for you to start something, most of the times you don't need money. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 3. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 3. I saw your hand. I'm coming to you. Chapter 5 verse 3. Someone wants to read it. The pastor wants to say something to me. Someone is reading for me Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 3. I have seen you. I'm just respecting the pastor because he will chase me from that pulpit if I don't say.
When is the right time to ask questions?
Now, my pastor.
I have 2 questions. The first question is, I've heard that several times that you don't need money to start something. Is there another Zimbabwe that people are living in that's not this one? Number one. Number 2, there's an unsaid exam that young men are writing and they are failing every day. We are setting a standard for this young man that is supposed to provide and is a hero. But the girls, they don't appreciate that we are different. So I don't know whether it's economics or what economics it is. My reality in my question is this.
Can we give the pastor time to finish his question?
not all professions are professions. If I give you an example, the most pretty girl in this room is looking for the guy who can satisfy her material needs. You talked about starting to sell tomatoes, but in reality, what do you say you are doing to that pretty girl? Are you a businessman or you sell tomatoes?
I like the way the pastor is taking it. We'll get there, don't worry. We'll get there, don't worry. So every day I meet people who come and they say, I have an idea, I want to start a business. What should I do to make it successful? So he is not anywhere out of the ordinary. It's very normal, the questions he has asked. You see what we are talking about? Very normal. All right, Ecclesiastes chapter 5. I'm coming to you, Pastor. And then whilst this gentleman is trying to say something, read for me Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 3 first. The first part, yes.
For a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words.
Okay. Someone with a different version? Right, that's the version I'm looking for, right? Keep it there, all right?
One and the same thing.
No, I want to, you wanted to say something.
Oh, my contribution. Okay, thank you. Right, if we read Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, just to add the creative part in which we are, we inherently, as men, for we are made by God. Okay. And say, God, you created man in his own image. Okay. So we are in God's image. So Genesis 1 verse 3, it says, verse 2, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the earth. In that form of darkness and void, that where God was, and he created something from nothing. Okay. You get my point? Okay. So I think the issue of sleep and the issue of darkness, for us not to do something at this verse is not even sufficient. So, be it daylight or dark, we need to do something, to create something into existence.
Okay. Here's a perspective. Allow me to comment a bit. I'm supposed to finish at 4. We have never done a lesson in an hour and it's finished. Because I talk a lot, that's my problem. I'm actually paid to talk whenever I meet. So if you meet me, I always say a lot of things. Some of them I'm not supposed to. But I'm trying to put things together. There is what she has said, what the pastor has said, what he has said. So I'll go next round after I try and tie this together. All right. So Pastor, let me start with you. So God is saying, like what you are saying, God has given us the ability to dream things, okay? And out of those dreams, multitudes of businesses have been started, okay? So you realize an idea is birthed out of a dream, okay? You need to dream something so that you can start working on it and bringing it to what? To life. You see what's happening? They always tell the story of Steve Jobs. They say when he, I'm not sure if it's even worse now. Because when he started, the iPhone had one button here. Remember? And during the time, the most successful phone had many buttons. Steve Jobs sat down and said, what if we come up with a phone that only has one button? Those around him thought it was something out of the ordinary. Never been done. But if you look at what he has done today with that idea, revolutionized the world. And most of the times, actually, if you continue reading Ecclesiastes, it says, actually, if you look at what we are talking about, entrepreneurship, they say you live midway between insanity and madness for you to be an entrepreneur, to start things. You actually need to be perceived as someone who is a bit crazy. So, Pastor, when you start selling tomatoes and you are not courageous enough to tell this young lady that I sell tomatoes for a living, then you are not qualified to be someone who runs a venture that will ultimately look after you. So step number one, you realize that there is no shame in you doing something, small as it may be, but it's taking you somewhere. The challenge is, no one ever told you that you could work in a greenhouse, do tomatoes, and get something for it when you were growing up. You always thought that those who work in a garden are the most backward people. Do you know that new discovery that I've made? Horticulture is the most successful and profitable venture you can ever operate in this country. Large corporations. The world today is looking for what they call organically grown food. The rest of the world outside of Africa is predominantly using chemicals to grow food. But here in Africa, you run a small venture. You know, I met a group of people not so long ago. They came and they had this idea. So we approached the Dutch embassy and we said, these guys want to do greenhouse on 2 hectares and sell the whatever. They want to come together, everyone, 2 hectares, 2 hectares, 2 hectares, 2 hectares. You do a greenhouse on those 2 hectares. You put your things together, you export. It didn't take us time. These guys got a contract to export their produce to the Netherlands. Okay? Here's the good thing. They don't even have the money. But they have a what? If you understand the business of commodities, if you have a contract, you have money. Because the way it works in finance is, we start with who is going to buy. If we know someone who will buy from you and they are credible, who will give you money. So you realize what these people had was not money. They had a what? An idea. And actually what they've realized in entrepreneurship is, if you want to start a business and you are alone, you are likely not to succeed. But people who have been successful are those who usually start businesses as teams. Individualism is one of the things that has killed the church a lot. Most of you guys can't work together. And this is the other reason why things are not working out amongst us. Very individualistic. You want to be seen driving that car at church when you arrive. That's not success. Actually, they wanted me to talk about investments. An investment is a cash outlay or is a use of money that allows you to collect more money in the future. You see what I'm saying? An investment is the use of money in a way that allows you to get more money in the future. If you buy a car, you have not invested. Buying a car is an activity where you use money to use more money in the future. So there is a stage where you need a car. Just get me right. And there is a stage where it makes sense to use other people's cars for your success. It's not about owning things. It's about being able to use things, even if they don't belong to you. You know, I've met this young man in our church, and he was talking to people about contract farming for poultry. Come together. Go and look for a place. We'll give you an outgrowers contract to farm chickens. Okay? So all you needed to do was identify a place where you can put a foreign. Okay? Then when you have that place, you go and with your lease agreement. Do you know that you can actually get a lease agreement before you have paid the deposit? So you take that lease agreement and then you meet someone who has this. This is where I will do my business. Okay? You can actually get some of the funding that you get from there can be used to pay the rent for the lease that you have. It's just being clever. Let me tell you about this parable that Jesus told in the book of Luke. Remember the parable of that servant who was fired by the master. And then he says, my master is about to fire me. What will I do? So he went around to the people that owed his master. Says, how much do you owe my master? $80. Here, sign and say you owe him 60. How much do you owe? He did that, and he reduced the exposure of everyone's debts in the place where he was living, everyone who owed him. And then the master says, you are about to leave. Can you show me what I'm owed by the people that you were working with? So he brought those things. And when these people realized that this person had saved them so much money, they spoke to the master to give him his job back. And Jesus says, the children of darkness are wiser than the children of light. Remember that conversation? Why? Because most of the times we don't see an opportunity when it is right in front of us. And the ability to identify opportunities, my pastor, if people need tomatoes, there is nothing famous about not selling tomatoes when people are actually paying you for selling tomatoes. I'm not saying don't get a skill. Get a skill. Over and above your skill. Actually, these days, they use the word side hustle. Have you ever heard that word? You are working, but you have your... Most businesses that are successful today started as side hustles. Why do you need to work? There is experience you require, which you can only get if you are working. But whilst you are working, use that experience to grow your own side hustle. But most of the times is when you guys start working, you are only thinking about working for this person and nothing else. Nothing of your own. And the other reason why also it's difficult is most of the times we think that side hustles, you should get $1 million for you to start a side hustle. Once you need more than 1,000, it's no longer a side hustle. There are some side hustles that actually need $100. All right, here I'm not thinking about legality, but I'm just trying to give you context. Let me be very clear so that you appreciate. Disclaimer. How much, do you actually know that you can actually buy a barrel for $100? Guys, businesses are started on the basis of need. People in Zimbabwe can't afford brand new clothes. We wear second-hand clothes. Sell what people want. Why do you want to sell brand new clothes when people are wearing second-hand clothes? Where is the market? Where is the market? You see what I'm talking about? Because people who wear brand new clothes, they buy once in a while. But the second-hand market is very significant. And you are here, you're looking at me and you are saying, but it's happening. I actually have family members who lost jobs, who spent their time at Copacabana selling those clothes. You know what I'm saying? But what's my argument? Adventists are too smart. Selling the clothes does not stop you from getting a degree. A temporary setback is a very big step for a setup in the future. This is the biggest challenge of our generation. We want it good from day one. It will never happen. Mfundis, I was trying to answer your question, but you are bringing more. All right.
I don't know if I want to talk to you. As see, I'm saying I agree. I have a problem.
Yes.
I like this girl.
Yes.
I like you, and I know you like me. But I must sustain us.
Yes.
I know that I can buy a barrel for $100. But the embarrassment of saying to other youth, I have a barrel for $100. I'm saying, young men here won't ask you. I'm asking on behalf of the young men here. It's hard to separate business, entrepreneurship, and the fact that you want to marry the girl like this. Girls like this don't want guys like us who go to Mbare in the morning. They want guys like you who talk economics, who look smart, and everyone, you're talking and everyone just wants you. My challenge is, if you look around your campus here, there are cars and there are real cars. If you're a young man, did you see the real cars I saw? And if you're a young girl, did you see the real cars that we saw? And all the young girls here can hear you. And they are hoping when you're an entrepreneur, you are going to talk a real story. Here's my challenge I have with Adventists. We pretend and then we don't get help. If you buy bananas and purpose to make $60 a day, and you make $60 times 5, that's 300. Times 4 weeks, that's 1,200. It's more than anyone who's going to work here. But can we have some godly girls who are willing to start by pruning our roots and making us the best that we can be? The young men here know how to hustle and to be on the grind. But they meet a girl who will break them down with standards their father doesn't even have. They put a bar, we write unsaid exams, we are struggling. Please protect me. Yes. Yes. So I'm saying, don't eat me. Hey, don't eat me. I'm just saying, the best girl to date, the best business partner to have is one who's willing to carry the box with you from Bari. In my head, maybe there's something else.
Guys, I know I'll never get a chance to talk to you. I usually talk to you once every camp, but just allow the pastor to finish and then I'll come to you. All right. So, Mfundis, wait for me. You guys, imagine if I had done 1 hour talking about how to invest. You see where my challenge is? So my challenge is, when I see you, I see people who have the potential to become great partners, either as a family or as friends. You don't know where most of the people you see today have come from. You don't know. You know what? Sometimes when we are talking about these things, we are not trying to make you what other people already are. That was my first disclaimer. If you start big, you will end very soon. If that's how you are starting, then whatever you are doing is not going to last for a lifetime. It's possible that you can be an instant hit and remain successful. We are not saying it can't happen. But the ones that really have a long life are things that you do over time. And what I'm simply trying to do here is start a conversation about you guys dreaming or thinking of starting things. You see what I'm trying to do? How and what you can do, I will take forever just to walk you through it. But if you were to ask me today, what you realize is, if you want to do, there is what we do, there are studies that we call mega trends. So when we do mega trends, we say, what is the future of work? This today, we think about the future of work. All right, the worker of the next generation, that person, if you want to be that person in the economy that's coming, you need to be able to write computer programs. See what I'm talking about? How many of us fall away? You see what's beginning to happen? So you realize that most of the things that we think is work today is being replaced by computers and machines. By the time you come to the world of working, you will be irrelevant. Which qualifications and skills and industries will survive tomorrow? That's the question we ask. What does medicine look like tomorrow? The medicine of the future, doc, what does it look like? You know? Those medical robots that you put into your system, they walk around, they tell people what's happening. Before you know it, the doctor is slowly but surely he or she is not being replaced. The type of role they play is changing. The worker of the future is a critical thinker. You see what's happening? So the things that are happening is that, but there are certain things that can never be automated. Food will never be automated. You see what I'm talking about? So when we meet you, the question we are asking is, how are you thinking about the future? Because the way you think about the future shapes who you become. And you realize the reason why the church is dying today is because most of us are stuck in traditions. The church of the future will not look like the one that we are seeing today. Do we think we will be relevant? You see what's happening? What are the things that, the world is really needing? And what can I do to become part of the future? So what the pastor is saying is, sometimes we want things to happen overnight. But there are some successful people that if you talk to them today, they did not start where they are. You have heard stories of all the people that you know most of the times in church, how they started. You see what I'm talking about? But there are some people who also started. One of my friends who is in church, he's an elder. He runs a very successful seed business. But he's just started by selling vegetable seeds. You know vegetable seeds? This is a person who is a chemical engineer by training. That I'm talking about. Selling seeds. Before you know it, the people that he met a lot when he was working or interacting with others, they became his first clients. He would sell vegetable seeds. So the business got so big that now he is actually one of the recognized suppliers by certain agro businesses. When he started, how he started it, he was working in the industry that produces foam mattresses. You know foam mattresses? The old type of mattress that we had. That technology died away. He had no job but a degree. So instead of looking for work, he said, let me start selling vegetable seeds. What do you think people were saying when an engineer was selling vegetable seeds? Crazy, and if like what the pastor now, what he is saying is, if the young ladies of our generation were to see that young man, they don't see much. No, I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's what the pastor is hinting. So please don't kill the messenger. The pastor is hinting on a setup where we are actually going to find ourselves thinking that, you need someone successful for you to be successful. Success is something that you work on. If you couldn't work on it, God would not have given you the ability to start things. You hear what I'm saying? So things, you actually can start some. So what I'm trying to do here is just ignite the entrepreneurial spirit in young Adventists. Stop this idea of going to beg people for things. When you meet people, take an idea. Take an idea to people. Most of the time why people no longer answer your calls is because you are a beggar. You see what I'm saying? When you call me, and there's a young man from City East, I don't know where he is. No, he came to me and said, Elder, this is what I do, but I want to start a business. Okay, so it was actually a very busy day. I actually stopped. He was in town. I actually sent someone to pick him up. We sat, we had a conversation. We talked about it. He went away. He keeps on going. Now he has given me a business plan. I look at it. I give ideas and whatever. This person, when they call me, I answer them. You see what's happening? And this is actually what people around you want to do for you. They want you to be useful. Sometimes the way we perceive how to be helped is we want to be basket cases instead of being when we are looking at you, we are looking at the church of the future. If the people who are existing today and are financing the gospel are no longer there, will the church still have funds and resources? If you look at yourself and you look at myself, you see what's happening? Because when we are thinking about it, it's not about us having things. It's about God being able to do the work of serving people through what we have. Will we have enough to finance the gospel here when we are seated? So how do we then create the environment where that happens? Look for the places where this conversation can take place. How can I start something? So I know I have not said anything. I know. But what I've tried to do is to start the conversation about you thinking of something to do. I can't tell you what, because there are many things I've said, but I can give you research, business research that confirms things that this world is in need of, including our country, that are in short supply. Did you know that in the UAE, one of their biggest challenges is the Muslim community? They eat goat meat a lot. Okay? So I was talking to one executive of a very big business in Zimbabwe, and they said to me, these guys from the UAE have approached us, and they want goat meat. So I sat down. So I went and I met Pastor Machamiri, and I said, Pastor Machamiri, he's the EZC Stewardship Director. I said to him, this is what information I have. What can we do for the church? And what I realized is, so I have friends who are into this agric thing. So these guys told me that if you take a 50 kg bag of maize to Mzaraban, you can actually come back with 2 or 3 goats. Follow what I'm saying. How long does it take for goats to multiply and become big in number? Very short space of time. One goat can give birth to how many? 4, up to a maximum of 4. 4 in a year, all right? All right? So you realize that because we are not patient, we want 100 goats now and send them to the UAE. That's not how it works. So if you think about this, and what I'm talking about is not something that you guys need to do individually. If youths in this district come together, it's just me thinking, I know it will not happen because most of the times you don't agree. If you come together and every one of you may put maybe in place $10 max, I know you guys spend more than $10 a month on airtime. If you put $10 together, and you can actually set up a fund that can buy goats every month. You see where I'm coming from? You buy goats every month, you put them somewhere, and believe me, you can find where to put them if you are serious. There is a lot of idle land in this country, you won't believe it. A lot of idle land in this country. People are prepared to be given nothing, groceries, to lend, make you use their farm, because people have farms and they don't know what to do with them. So you can take your goats, put them there, wait for them to multiply. After a year, it's very possible for you to be having 500, 600 goats. If you come to me and you say, we now have 600 goats we want to export, I can link you up with the executive who will link you up with the people who want to buy goats. But how are you starting? You hear what I'm saying? I have said this in many places, and people will say, we can do it, and before you know it, it's a sensation in camp. It is not easy to rear goats. Let me start with this. If you are like me, who has a very strong rural background, and I looked after goats, they are terrible. Yeah, to look after. They are very stubborn as animals. But you are not going to get anything for free. So there's always a catch. There is a price to pay for you to do something. Be prepared to work. The biggest challenge of our generation is wanting to sleep and waking up at 9 a.m. and trying to use Wi-Fi that doesn't belong to you to talk to people who will never... I don't know what... My friends will be few doctor after this. But let me try and make a new friend today. All right, guys. So that's all I wanted to do for today. Let me stop here. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to ask you guys to try and think of things you can do. All right. So in the next 10 minutes max, I'll ask you guys to comment. So I'll get 3 people from this side who have not said anything and 3 people from this side. So we start. All right. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Here. 1. Anyone wants to say something? I can go over to this side because I don't have time. Oh, Doc, you are there. Okay. Then the last one. Okay, I'll take your hand. So I'll start from here. Pastor, I'll end with you.
Okay, I just want to comment on the point that Pastor raised, saying that when we, the youths, are hustling, we need a lady who understands and who is willing to work from day one up until where we want to go. So I also want to say, isusu sewakomana, when you have a lady who supports you, when you have a lady who was down for you when you had nothing, Anjika, and then Jozo Buddha. And then Jozo Buddha. It's not, I want to say, it's evil kusiya mskana yewa kuti you are not my type. Yeah. That's why vasingazothi support it. It's because of that.
All right. I think, wait, give it a, guys, can we talk? Can we talk? Can we talk? Can we talk? Wait. I think you need to follow the thinking that's coming through here. Guys, you are going to discuss courtship. And Makosi, when you discuss courtship, there is a type of courtship that we have spent time. In our time, we would discuss courtship in a different way. But you guys need to discuss courtship in your context. This is the courtship, what he's talking about. So I don't want to talk about it here, but his point is very clear. If you are a young man, someone is with you when you are trying to do it. When you have made it, leaving that person is evil. That's one of the evils of this generation. So he's saying this is the other reason why girls will no longer support. But let me stop there. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. I've heard what he said. I'm not taking new hands. I'm not taking new hands. I know some of you get revelations, but I'm not taking new hands. So let's go. Yes. Who was there? There was a lady who was somewhere. Hey, wait, guys, let's hear this one. What issues you deal with them? So it's not my area of expertise.
But Pastor Ndova Zitanga. Okay, guys.
Let's hear what you have to say. Guys, the faster we do this, the earlier we do.
Because I wanted to respond to what the pastor had said. But anyway, my contribution was this. I think we need to get to a point where we should stop being ashamed of our hustles. Pastor mentioned about tomato selling, right? Pataura nyayema bero, right? Urukusangana Diana, kanwasangana Diana. Urukunyara kundudzo oturutengesa mabero. Tushaita say, urukunyare. The next thing is, I don't get to know what you're doing, and I make a decision based on assumptions, right? And after making a decision based on assumptions, maufunga kuti isusu tisi ne problem. Asi problem iri kubva pane munhu ari kunyara kutaura zvaari kuita, ari kunyara kutaura zvaari. So a person cannot be supported when you don't know what exactly is going on.
Okay. I think, let me tell you the other thing that we have learned. So in the Adventist education, we said there are 3 H's, isn't it? They have discovered the 4th H, which we call the home. It's there in our theology and philosophy, but we don't talk about it in that context. Home talks about networks. Did you know that if you are an Adventist Christian, your biggest market is usually the church? I'm coming. I know your problems. Let me come to them. All right, wait. So they tell me that Adventist Christians don't support each other. So that's what they tell me. But now that you know it, support each other. You see what I'm trying to say? Because if she's a doctor and you know she's running a surgery, when you have a case that needs a doctor, why do you need someone else when there is a doctor in your midst? You get what I'm saying? If there is someone, Adventists don't pay. They want things for free. I'm not having that conversation because I know where it's leading. But let's stop there. Why do you guys have, what I'm realizing is our ability to succeed. Let me tell you something about Adventism. If you are an Adventist Christian, your life revolves around church. Whether it's economic or social or what, you will live here. You will live and die in this community. That's one thing you need to know as an Adventist Christian. So trying to dissociate from yourselves from these people is actually dangerous for yourself. You see what's happening? In other Christian denominations, someone can actually profess and be this type of a Christian and then go and do things elsewhere. But as an Adventist, it's difficult for you. When you want to marry as an Adventist, you marry an Adventist Christian. See what's happening? And your friends, most of the times, they are Adventist Christians. When you want to do business, most of the times you are likely to interact with Adventist Christians. So you realize that your life is so stuck to this faith of yours to the extent that you need to master the art of living together. And this is the other challenge we are having today in the church, where we are failing to see each other. And my inability to see her is actually crippling my inability to start a business. Did you know that? Because if I don't see Dr. Machamire as a dentist, he will struggle to see where he can set up a surgery because he thinks there are no clients. Do you know that most businesses, the most important ingredient for a successful business is a paying client. If someone does not pay for what you do, you don't have a business. Problem, the challenge I am seeing here is, you guys, when you do business together, you don't pay each other. Let me just be blunt. It's unchristian. Okay? It's unchristian for you to do that. But guys, look here. Why are we having this conversation? To help each other to realize how our actions affect the next person. If you are that kind of person whom, if you engage in business with an Adventist, you don't feel the need to pay the Adventist, then you are actually killing mission. God's work won't go anywhere because of your activities. All right, let me get to the other end. Where is that other end? Somewhere there.
Okay, so mine is a question. You said something earlier about young people not coming with ideas and whatnot. I don't know about many people here, but personally, I've experienced people in positions of influence taking my idea after telling me that it doesn't work. So it then becomes difficult for me because I have so many ideas. And now I don't know who to go to with my ideas because I'm afraid this person is in a position to run this thing. I don't have the funds for it, but I can see that from here and here and here, it's going to work and it's going to go like this. And we'll sit down and they'll tell me, no, you see, actually, the Zimbabwean market is like this, so this is not going to work. So for your business, it's not going to, break market. Your market will be very small, so it's not worth it. And yeah, don't even, just forget about it. Next thing, that person has now gone with my idea, and they're making it. So now how do we then safeguard our ideas from being, yeah.
Which ones of you guys are lawyers here or lawyers in training? Or those who are practicing law? Who? Iya taura wacho. All right. Sharon, what's the name of the association? Adventists in Business for Mission. So what they did is, these guys, they came together as young entrepreneurs, and I'm sure those that are trying to make it, professionals and other guys, they are coming together. Some of the subjects or issues that they discuss is, how do you protect your ideas? So one of the challenges that you find is, most of the times is, we never have a conversation around when you have a business idea, what do you do first? Because that one is the reason why you are facing this challenge. And sometimes if you think you have something that will be successful, it's always good to meet someone with a legal background and have a conversation. So I'll tell you this, but this one is for people who want to go big, the way she's talking. Okay? It's always good to meet someone with a legal background. And when you meet them, I was hoping I would see. There is a guy who fellowships at City Center, a deacon, Lucky Jonas. You know that guy? He's actually a lawyer, eh? My lawyer, hey, so you find these guys, you guys, you know what? What I did here, if I was going to do it, if I'm invited to speak at a conference, they will pay a lot of money to attend that conference. So you don't become successful as an Adventist Christian because you keep ideas to yourself. When God has given you a talent, use it in mission. Find time to speak to the other guys about the legal issues that affect people who want to start businesses. You are a lawyer, that's why you have the skill. Can I health date no days? I'm a doctor. They charge you a lot of money for that, but if it's church, you get it for free. But the other professionals and people with skills in our community, they are so stingy. They don't want to share. I was trying to talk about agriculture, but I know Muna knows the agriculture. You see what I'm saying? I should not be talking about agriculture. I don't know much about it. I know the business aspects of it. But there's someone who's a professional who can speak to you about agriculture. And you guys, when you meet and we do those social Sundays and whatever, the amount of time you spend talking about the things that don't matter is too big. And that's the issue. I've been told to stop, so I'm about to stop now. Let me stop. I know there are people, when I talk,
So my question is, okay, I guess you touched a bit on it when you talked about the home, but there's something that I've seen in terms of business. Who you know or your connections are very important. So there can be 6 people who sell t-shirts, but if you manage to talk to the right, talking to the right people, or for example, there was no way we were going to know that the UAE wants goats, except that we talk to you. And you are connected to very specific people, and those specific people are connected to specific people. So I don't know where it fits, but I feel there's something about connections, having good connections that help you.
In entrepreneurship, we call it social capital. So most successful entrepreneurs have a network. And how do you network? It's church, and it on a Sunday. Tell each other what you do. You know, Sharon, I know she is a business person. If she gets stuck and there's a legal issue, she should know who to call, who is a church member. But most of the times you realize that we end up giving business to none. Why? Because we don't know what you do. Guys, there is no value in being secretive about what you do. if you actually want to be poor most of the times, be secretive. Even if you sell tomatoes, tell people I sell tomatoes. There is a day that's coming. When people were coming for camp, where do you think they got the tomatoes that they are using here? How many tomatoes do you think we used here? I'll leave it there. Pastor?
Sorry. I just wanted to say on networks and connections. Our challenge mainly is we want to join networks that are already there and that are very, very solid. They'll never open up for us. Our networks are here. He's a doctor. She's a doctor. He's an accountant. Yes, he is a vendor. He's an architect, actually. He has done very good buildings and stuff like that. So we need to create our own networks. His network is already closed. They have suppliers and service providers for the things that they want. Let's not go to them. I do air conditioning. He looks for me, and I do quotations and do business with him. He does that. He does whatever he does. Let's create our own networks. We are going to grow Isusu Pachelu, and we're the next big network that someone who's behind us also wants to join. Our challenge is we're looking to get into the next network where it's already sealed because they have a trust. We're never going to get in there. We are leaving each other and stuff to do simply because we feel Hanamari or he doesn't have something that I emulate. But does he not have the money to buy the product that I'm selling? They do have. And he mentioned ABM. So there's an association called Adventists in Business for Mission, where we are saying young professionals, Adventists, who are running their businesses, whether you're running your business or not, or you have an idea, we are coming together, capacitating each other's businesses. And after we capacitate, we also fund mission. We are not only looking to capacitate your business. After your business is done well, you're also going to then fund mission. So we are doing the Adventist movement in the process of us capacitating each other. Like he mentioned when he started his conversation, because God says so. We are not going to lend if we do not have. We are not going to bring a sacrifice before the Lord if you don't have the sacrifice. So what we're saying is let's come together and in those associations, wherever you are, if you are to join ABM, if you are to start your own association, wherever, but we want to capacitate your business so that it does well, so that you also get on to fund mission. So the business does not only end on us as individuals, it's also going to fund God's work.
Thank you very much. Pastor, you did the last one?
I don't know why, for some reason, people thought I was talking about courtship. I was not talking about courtship, I'm talking about duty. What you said right now is the first time I've heard it in a long time. Here's one fact, your pastor knows everyone who does everything. And we are close to everyone who does everything, but it's irrelevant to me. You are the business person. So I store it in my head, oh, that's the lawyer, that's the architect, that's the what. Don't look at your pastor as only your spiritual connection. We are a conduit to more than you think. That's one. The second thing is, the duty of a man is not to get a job, but to work. Work and job are two different things. God gave man work, not a job. So a man must work very hard. The duty of a woman is to eat a man's money very hard. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm not a business, what, I'm just a theologian. A man must work hard. A woman must eat his money hard. No woman, unless you are into witchcraft, should touch a man's money without the 5 principles: tithe, offering, savings, investment, then buy a hairpiece. If you can't do the first 4, even if we link you with businessmen, you are a thief in the making. Even if we say export, you are going to embarrass us because you are not grounded in godly principles. So before you are a businessman, be an honest Christian. Before you're an architect, be honest in your scales. So as we sit here and we network and we do all these things, the reason why I was asking you these questions is, I don't want someone to say, those are the businessmen, you sell tomatoes. My hustle is my hustle. And if I'm going to share my hustle with you, don't make me a laughing stock amongst young people. Respect my hustle. So if you are a lawyer and I come with you with a tomato level question, don't say I don't do this. Build me up so that if my tomatoes become bigger than Will's Grove, I will always remember you. So if I grow, you grow. These closed networks that you say are closed, they grew up together. The last point is, young ladies, don't love money you did not nurture. If you are not in the DNA of the orange, don't eat its flesh. Why am I saying so? From Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we lost a young man every day of the week before we came to camp. And if you read the stories, it's consistent. Adventists, you know what I'm talking about. Let's learn to work with our hands. Young lady, you don't know how much power you have on an Adventist who's trying the most. I don't know how that's courtship and what. I'm telling you, if a girl says to me, Daryl, I like your hustle, I'm a hustle. If a young girl says to me, Daryl, bring your tomatoes, I put them on my status. I won't give that girl tomatoes, I'll give her tomato sauce. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That honey deserves everything for me. Are we together? If that girl says, you know what, if we go to town, we go and share a meal for $1 because we are doing our thing. No matter what girl comes, whenever she comes, I will always remember that she was there. Are we together? So it's not courtship. I'm talking about duty. You have a duty to me as a fellow Christian to buy my stuff you don't need. Can you buy my scones you don't need? Just because I'm selling them to you. Can you buy my shirts? I know you buy Louis Vuitton, Gucci, I know, but I've got these better ones. Can you just buy 5? It's $5 to me, but to me it's $5 of profit. There are girls who bake here. Maybe my baking is not as nice as your girlfriend's or your friend's baking, but just buy my scones, it pushes my product. Once we level out the ground for each and every one of us here, it makes coming out in our small businesses easier. It makes putting God in the marketplace easier. Because every time there are those who are privileged, who are doctors, who are whatever it is that you have become in this life, not everyone has been given that opportunity. So I'm working my way. So doctor, while you are where you are, remember me as a young person. In the UK, many people now are going to the UK. We are doing nurse aid. We all know why we're doing nurse aid. Are we together? I have a friend who went, in the UK they're called clinical, technicians or whatever they're called. But we all know what they are going to do there. But doing that there, they are building their home back in Zim. So learn to do this, young people. Learn to build someone. That someone will build you tomorrow. Let's create our networks even here. What do you do? Okay, I do this. I've got a plan like this. Will it work? No. The last time I tried this didn't work. Let's learn to support one another from $1. Stop sending business proposals to big men who have made it a long time ago. Learn to send to me. I may not be able, but I know this guy. Bring your proposal and go to this guy. If you don't have that, bring your CV. I'll take it there for you. My influence may not bring US dollars to your pocket, but it will get your CV in places you can't reach. That's why I'm the pastor. I go to places you can't go to. But when you are the lawyer, you go to places I can't go to. So let's work together.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think let's stop here. I know, guys, we can talk for a very long time, but I just want us to thank God for the opportunity that we have had. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18 says, "But you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he that gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he sware unto your fathers, as it is this day." Success that we will seek for, or our ability to do things in this generation as young people, will only come from the fact that we realize that whoever we are is like that because of God. So at this juncture, I know we were reminded that we need to bring a thanks offering to the Lord for what he has done for us. And the thanks offering is a reminder of what God did for us from the last camp to this one. And offerings usually never have a quantum. Tithe is 10% of what you have made. An offering is what God is saying your commitment to him is pushing you to give him. So I just want to encourage us to do something for the Lord. I know we were given envelopes. Did we get the envelopes, everyone? There are envelopes here, but I'm told you were reminded that there will be that service. So I'll just ask those that are sharing the envelopes to be sharing them as someone is leading us in song. And I think after about a few minutes or so, we'll just collect them. Maybe we'll ask everyone to just use one door on our way out. Then you drop off your envelope by the gentleman there. Please stand, sir. I'm sure we know him. He is a hustle, I'm sure, that we should support. So, yeah, if you need an envelope, please move around, share the envelopes, maybe for just a minute or two. Then people will do what they have to do. Please use this door if you have your offering that you want to give, and then you drop it off there. So we will pray for this offering, and I'll give you an opportunity to fill in your envelopes and you drop them off. If you feel that you want to bring your offering in the evening as well, I'm thinking it's only fair to give people another opportunity in the evening to, submit their offerings. We are praying. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the privilege that is ours to sit and discuss even issues that pertain to financial resources in your ministry. We know we were speaking as young people. Some of us, we are still trying to get to a stage where this will be useful in our lives. But we are praying that the principles as they come, they will be useful when we need them the most. Some of us, we are at that point, dear Jesus, where we really need you to help us get resources. Some of us, we are contemplating even life-changing situations. We need to make life-changing decisions. Some of us are contemplating even starting a family. Some are looking for an opportunity to get experience in a job. Some of us are planning on starting ventures that can only be successful because you have blessed them. Dear Jesus, we pray that you come through for us. For your word says you know us by name. And as we are coming to the end of this service, we also want to express our gratitude for what you have done for us since the last time we met at camp. And please accept our offerings as we bring them to you. Bless them, dear Jesus. We pray that whatever we put before you, may it bring blessings in abundance to us. For we know you are able to do exceedingly abundantly more than we can ask or imagine. For that reason, we come to you because you are our God. Bless these young people, dear Father. I cannot mention each and every one of them by name. I do not know the specific needs that they have, but you, dear Jesus, you know. Visit them. Bless them, dear Father. Strengthen them. Establish them. Guide them. May they be visible, even in a place where they cannot be seen. May their presence be felt, even in places where others are not being felt. We pray that you give them an influence that brings glory and honor to your name. Bless them because we have prayed for them in Jesus' name. Amen. I'm sure the chorister will sing for us as we fill in our envelopes and drop them off by the door.
Oh, to Jesus.